And seeing as I'm in the mood for little ditties, let's revisit another old favourite. Let's come back and do my once every year I seem to do this now, Story of the Rose. I'm doing a talk tonight at Welwyn Garden City, sort of 20 minutes north of North London. And I don't know how many people are there. I don't think there's going to be that many people there, maybe 25, 30. Nevertheless, it's going to be interesting, and I shall bring this in. This is the story of the rose and how the rose symbolises the astrological ascendancy from the sun out to Pluto. It's winter. It's cold. The days are just starting to get longer. The heat is just starting to come back. And underneath a pile of soggy, dark, cold, mushy leaves and earth and worms and ants, there's a seed that as soon as the very first tendril of sun heat comes, that seed cracks and a little shoot comes out. And here we see the sun, the core, the absolutely contained individual that is inviolate, that is unique, that is unaffectable. And then it chooses, when it receives warmth and heat, to open and put a shoot out. That shoot then goes down and up. But that's the sun, that's the core. The shoot goes down, it goes down into the earth, and more shoots come out, and it gathers water and nutrients and energy. And this is about nurturing, and this is the moon. And the shoots also go up, and not just down but up, and they expand into the warmer earth. Then they come out the surface and they just peek out as for little bits of foliage. And this is the moon spreading out to receive heat, to receive water, to receive nurturing. And once that's established and the sun and the moon are firm in base, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this bud forms and a shoot goes boom, straight up, really fast. And this is Mercury, the fast-winged fleet warrior. He just shoots through and gets things done at a really fast rate. So that really strong stem is Mercury. And as Mercury begins to reach maturity, so he slows down and begins to consolidate his growth up and begins to build a platform at the top to look back on. And then hands over to Venus, who gradually expands and swells and grows and buds and becomes this beautiful contained bud that is becoming ever more pungent, ever more seductive, and then slowly the last green leaves suddenly open. And the first signs of the yellow or red rose come out. At which point Venus goes, Mars, you're on. And Mars comes in, bang, you've got the rose. Pungent, strong, ripe, fertile, at its most powerful. Mars at its strongest. And Mars loves it like this and he just goes with it. And then along comes Jupiter. And Jupiter gets hold of a rose and goes, let's make it bigger. And the rose becomes like, you get those big roses with lots of leaves. And it gets too big. And the bark of the stem gets a little bit brown and the leaves at the bottom begin to wilt a little bit. And then Saturn comes along. Goes, right, enough of all this. Far too much baggage here. Let's strip the leaves away, strip the petals away. And all that's left is the stem and the thorns and the bud at the head of the top of the rose bush. At which point Chiron comes in and looks at it and says, you're in a bit of a mess, mate, aren't you? There's no going back now. You can't get back to your formal glory. You're going to have to transform. You're going to have to transmute. You're going to have to change your ideas about integration and holism and the nature of reality. And Chiron helps that rose bush get ready for the transition that's to come. And all of a sudden it comes. Uranus, the change bringer, the destroyer, sweeps in out of nowhere. A sudden scythe or a gardener's secateurs or a rainstorm or lightning flash. And the rosebush suddenly crumbles down to the ground. It is pruned savagely with only the bare base stem left. And then of course Neptune comes in. And Neptune sort of covers it with rain and a bit of dirt and a few leaves, and it starts to really just dissolve. And it eats away, and the mould and the insect, they just eat away at the rose bush and the rose head and the bud, until at the end it just dissolves back into the earth where it came from. And that leaves at the end of the day Pluto, the end of the rose head, the bud at the top of the rose bush. It's just left there with a seed, nothing else, all the covers stripped away, bare, naked, but secure, unfertilised, and it just digs deep, deep, deep into the dark earth, and it winters over until come the spring and the first heat of the sun, that seed opens out and the whole death and rebirth cycle happens again. There you go. There's the rose from an astrological perspective, the 2013 version. Catch you later.